Hi friends, in this video I'm going to talk about hydrogen. There are so many news out there regarding hydrogen, the good and the bad, and in this video I'm going to talk about the cases where it could actually be used and cases where it may not really make sense. I spent so much time on this, so you wouldn't need to. I researched into 4 different hydrogen companies and will be using new hydrogen specifications because they are in the lead. And also New Hydrogen is also a contracted supplier of Nikola. I understand that I'm never 100% correct and nobody will. There is always a certain degree that I'm wrong. So let's talk about that too. So last week after I published this video, Nikola claims that they can produce hydrogen at $2 per kg. I look at many websites and the best case scenario I can find on all the research I found is by 2030, it could reach $2 per kg. I couldn't find any other research that comes close. To produce hydrogen, you need plenty of power. And power doesn't come free. This is directly from New Hydrogen. 75% of cost to produce hydrogen is OPEX. The cost to produce hydrogen mainly goes into OPEX, which is the cost of electricity. I believe this is the best case scenario mainly because hydrogen stations need maintenance. I'm highly skeptical, but I'll take it for what it is. I will put in the numbers given by Nikola, and they say that the eventual cost for hydrogen will be $2 per kg at 2 cents per kilowatt hour. So the range of 700 miles and 80 kg tank. So the refueling cost for a Nikola truck will be at $160, and that brings it to 500 miles. The cost is at $114. Reason why I wrote 500 miles, so we can compare this to Tesla Semi. For the Tesla Semi, I'm going to use the same electricity cost. Because if Nikola could get it at 2 kilowatts per hour, by then most of the world has transited to clean energy. With electricity cost at 2 cents per kilowatt hour and the capacity is at 1000, each time you refuel a Tesla Semi, it is only $20. Even in today's context, the cost of electricity is about 4 to 5 times cheaper than fossil fuels. And I realized that while I'm doing research, the cheaper the hydrogen gets, the cheaper the cost of electricity gets, directly benefiting electric vehicles. So by the way, friends, appreciate the early thumbs up. Also, last week after I published the video, there were a lot of comments coming in on the recharging time and the refueling times on both the Tesla Semi and the Nikola Semi. So some drivers commented that it is important because time is money. I really didn't want to go into details, but let's talk. This slide refers to hydrogen. The charge time for a hydrogen truck is about 15 minutes. That is pretty fast. But however, like all trucks, there needs to be loading and unloading. So each time this occurs is about 30 minutes. And there is also a law that involves for 30 minutes of rest for every 4 hours driven on the road. So let's put this in simple graphics. So at destination, you are unloading and loading, and you drive for about 4 hours before you come to a rest. This is the place where Nikola says you will charge the vehicle. So it takes about 15 minutes. So there is a 30 minutes rest time. The distance between each stop is about 300 miles because if you calculate 65 miles per hour for 4 hours, it is roughly about 300 miles. After the half an hour rest, the hydrogen semi goes on to destination for an loading and unloading. This is the charge time given by Tesla to charge the semi. The charging port is different from the Model S and the Model 3 because it's a semi, the port is way bigger. So anyway, the charge time is 80% in 30 minutes and 60% in 15 minutes. The load and unloading time is the same regarding all vehicles, nothing changed here, and the law, the same thing, 30 minutes for every 4 hours drive. The difference with the Tesla Semi is that there is destination charge. That means while there is loading and unloading, the Semi could be charged. After loading, the Tesla drives for about 4 hours before it comes to a mandatory rest. This is the place where they can charge again. A rest time of 30 minutes, you will get a 80% full charge. After the rest, the Tesla Semi continues on to destination. So again, while loading and unloading, they can charge. You cannot do this for hydrogen because you'll be putting hydrogen stations everywhere and it's very expensive to transport hydrogen. The moment you transport hydrogen, the cost goes up tremendously. The only advantage the Nikola Semi has over the Tesla Semi is weight. Battery is heavier. I watched multiple of Trevor's interview. This is Trevor's biggest go-to excuse to shift away from the topic. Again, I break it down. You need to look at the total cost travel per mile. I don't think you can look at this in any more simpler way. Now let's put to what we have learned above and set it aside. We come back to this. Do note that I am not taking the bear case against Nikola. In fact, I am using actually quite a lot of the materials provided by them. I want hydrogen to succeed because hydrogen is still better than fossil fuel, and I believe there are applications for this. This is a very important slide, and let's take a look at the total cost of ownership, TCO. This is on their latest presentation on 10 June, and we need to go to page 13. So Nikola says it will not charge you for the entire vehicle. Instead, they will have a lease program where for 7 years lease, 700,000 miles. This lease includes everything from the cost of fuel, repair and maintenance, literally everything. So Nikola says the total cost per mile will be 95 cents, cheaper than traditional diesel. Taking 95 cents per mile multiplied by 700,000 miles, the total cost of ownership is $665,000. Let's take a look at the Tesla Semi. The reason why I left this slide here is because we will take some reference to this. So the cost of vehicles, so the cost of the Tesla Semi is advertised at $180,000. The cost to power a Tesla Semi is 7 cents per mile. This is promised by Tesla. So for 700,000 miles, the total power cost will be at $49,000. Service and maintenance at 21 cents. I am being very conservative to have the same service and maintenance for a Tesla Semi to be the same as a diesel vehicle. You know, it doesn't come anywhere close, but for the sake of it, I'll just use 21 cents. And the total for service and maintenance for 700,000 miles will be at 147,000. So the total cost of ownership for 700,000 miles will be this plus this equals to $376,000. At the end of it, paying this amount of money, you still keep the truck. But for the Nikola, nope, you do not keep the truck. So this is literally twice the cost of the Tesla Semi without the truck. Think about what I just covered. Nikola fuel cell vehicles is just slightly cheaper than diesel costs. So while doing all my research, this is the question I kept asking myself, and it took me a very, very long time to come to this conclusion. This was one of the hardest questions I need to answer because at $2 per kg, it actually enables a lot of things that is possible in this world. So again, I asked myself, is $2 per kg possible? Guys, do know that the numbers I'm finding for you guys are really difficult to find. So I'm just using what I can get and what I can best reference. So if you convert the Japanese yen to USD, so about 5 cents per kilowatt hour, it represents about $3.75 per kg. To me, these numbers here are really optimistic. If you are going to like energy.gov, it is usually about 3.7 cents per kilowatt hour to meet like $4 per kg. I also use calculations from hydrogen websites where they actually calculate in detail on how they achieve the numbers. I also look at places where they are really bullish on hydrogen. I realize that most of the cost of hydrogen goes into the power. The cost of power makes up to 75 to 85% of the cost of hydrogen. So while doing my research, the cost of $2 per kg for hydrogen, it is possible, but electricity comes almost free. At that point, wouldn't it just make more sense to just charge the Tesla Semi directly? Here is a research by ARK Invest. For your info, I did a video on ARK. I'll link it up here and down below. ARK Invest says that the cost of fuel cell is much more than a Tesla Semi. Okay, I have to disagree with some numbers over here. Basically, the Semi cost for the fuel truck, it is way too cheap. A fuel cell vehicle typically is twice the price of an electric vehicle. For example, you see the Toyota Mirai. A Toyota costs about $64,000. Okay, some sites say that is $58,000. This is about twice the price of an electric vehicle. I couldn't find the cost of a Nikola truck, but upon deeper research, I found one place where Nikola said in 2016 they will retail a truck at $375,000, which makes a lot of sense because a fuel truck, it is substantially more expensive than an electric vehicle because of the systems used inside. The cost of hydrogen here should go lower because Nikola is getting new hydrogen to build their hydrogen stations, and that should bring down the cost a little bit, but it will still not be cheap. The case here I present to you guys is really giving Nikola a lot of benefit of the doubt because I'm using mostly their numbers and the numbers from their suppliers. So concluding this video, the real cost of a Nikola Semi is really a lot more expensive than a diesel. Nikola investors will be absorbing the cost because somebody needs to absorb the cost, right? I have never found it so hard to get exact numbers out of a company, and I had to really dig hard for this. Probably they want to keep it that way. If they had something good, they would have gladly shouted out the stats and the numbers out to shut everybody up. Look, I do not want to write hydrogen off. I believe there is a future where hydrogen will play. Hydrogen can produce 3 times the energy density compared to fossil fuel. It is really energy dense and it can be stored indefinitely, though hydrogen leaks can be a really big problem. I believe applications like shipping industry, the sea vessels, it's really viable. Though I think Nikola's share price will go up temporarily because people will buy the why. I covered this in the video up here and I'll link it down below too. Don't bet against stupidity. Stupidity can go really high. Personally, I'm staying out of Nikola stock. I believe in investing in the long term, and mark my words, you can write it down. Nikola Semi will fail. Help me help others invest better. Liking this video helps me reach more people and helps me in my mission. And as always, invest safe.